We're Blake and Brittany.
And we're going to tell you about some differences we've seen in our kids' public school in Ecuador compared to public schools in the United States.
Okay, so yeah, when we moved to Ecuador, I'd say we knew there'd be cultural differences for sure, and things wouldn't be the same as they were in the U.S. But we wanted to highlight a few things that kind of caught us off guard for sure.
I think all of these things surprised us.
One thing that surprised us was kids can leave campus without parental permission.
Or even parental knowledge. Sometimes the teachers will just take the kids places, or in the case of older kids, they'll send the kids places. Last year, one of our sons came home from school and said, "Oh, my classmate's grandma died," and we all went to her funeral, which was off campus, of course. And on another occasion, our daughter came home, and she's a little older, and they have more responsibility. And she said, "Oh, the teacher sent me and a couple of my classmates to town to go buy snacks at the store," which is a good 20-minute walk from the school, right? And
sure, easily.
And we didn't know about those things. We weren't asked to give permission. That's just how it is here. It doesn't really bother us. It's just different.
Yeah, and they said they're not going without some sort of oversight for sure, but it's definitely not something we were expecting.
Number 2, one of our kids' teachers gives out cups of coffee as a prize. And these are 10-year-olds we're talking about. They get the best grade on something or win a game, and it's coffee.
There is a long history of coffee here. Kids of all ages drink coffee here.
With sugar.
With sugar, yeah. And which is different for sure for us. But more than anything, I think it cracks me up. It's just, what did you get in school? Oh, the teacher gave us cups of coffee. Oh, okay. Great. Number 3, kids do all of their schoolwork in pen and not pencil.
Which means when they make a mistake, sometimes they have to start all over again.
There is a culture here, we think, handed down from the Spanish, right, of this precise note-taking, and everything has to be like just perfect in all of their documentation, which is really kind of interesting and funny, but at the same time it's so frustrating.
Just use a pencil.
And little kids too, like our 2 youngest, right? They have to use pen in everything they do, and of course they're going to make mistakes, so it's a method. It definitely teaches them to be a lot more careful with what they write.
Also, kids are taught cursive and expected to write in cursive, and most kids have impeccably beautiful handwriting.
That's true, unlike what's happened in the States right now, or I'm sure lots of places. Yeah, cursive is still taught at a young age, and so our poor non-cursive writing children had quite the curve to get over to get writing, but they do great.
Number 4, our kids' school is a compost school, and it's very open because it's never cold here, open to the weather, I should say. And it's also open to the neighborhood dogs. Pretty much anytime we're on campus, there's a dog or 2 hanging around, in and out of classrooms, playing with the kids. That's very typical.
Very typical. And we've even had a couple of instances where birds' nests were actually built in classrooms, which was quite fun for the kids, of course.
Except if they get dive bombed by Mama Bird.
Mom's dive bombing. Yeah.
But that's kind of fun because, the windows don't have glass in them, and so birds and insects can enter and make their homes, and it's kind of a neat little real-life science lesson for the kids, getting to see
nature school.
Unintentional nature school.
There is no school bus,
and that's also because we're a little tiny neighborhood compost school. In the city there are school buses, some,
but not like you expect. They're vans, like 12 to 15 passenger vans. They're not actual big buses,
and I don't think they're provided by the government. I think parents might contract them. Most kids get to school in the city on the bus or by walking, and here in the countryside, you come in a taxi or you walk. Or sometimes in a private vehicle, of course, if your family has a motorcycle or a car.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show with Dangerous Ways to School or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a cool show.
Kids used to watch that and just be amazed at the way kids got to school in other parts of the world, but now they live it. Now they do
live
it.
Our kids literally climb down a mountain to go to school.
Every single day.
Every day.
Uphill and downhill, both ways, right?
Hey, number 6. We are always being asked to send in 10 cents for a photocopy or 25 cents for supplies to take a test or deliver the big jug of filtered water for a classroom or bring in toilet paper. And granted, our kids didn't go to public school in the United States, and so maybe this is typical of there too, but they function on a very low budget.
Very low budget.
And so we are kind of nickeled and dimed, and we have to provide everything, like really precise numbers of, different types of papers for their homework and their notebooks. It'll say on their school supply list, 50 sheets of this type of paper and 25 sheets of this type of paper. And they mean it. And that was a surprise to us, or having to bring in the money for photocopies, the money for exams, all sorts of things. We pay very little in taxes, and so the schools don't have a big budget coming in from the government. So if they need something, they have the parents provide it.
Which is great. I mean, that's the way I think we should do it anyway.
Yeah, we're not paying for things that our kids aren't using, and so we're actually happy with that. However, we never have the correct change on hand, it seems. One kid needs $1, one kid needs 25 cents, one kid needs 15
35 cents, 15 cents, yeah.
And so we always joke about the challenge of having correct change.
It is hard. It is hard. Number 7. Okay, so our kids are in public school in Ecuador, and if you know anything about Latin America, it is still very religious. It's still very Catholic. So our school is a public school. It's not a Catholic school, but the teachers, the administration, pretty much everyone talks about faith as just common. Right? It's part of everyone's lives here, and so many things at school default to Catholicism, which doesn't necessarily bother us, but it is quite different.
Number 8. There are fruit trees all over the school campus, and the kids can help themselves to fruit.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the key things that one of the responsibilities that the kids have every year is planting things and maintaining whatever they planted throughout the school year, which is cool, but it's just a reflection of where we are, right? So they teach the kids the practical things they need to know to live where we live. So, which is cool. I'm a big fan of that.
Number 9. This one really kind of baffles us. And that's teachers change the grade they teach every year. I think it's actually a lottery system. Like they draw names or something. It's like the teacher starts the school year not knowing what grade they're going to be teaching until just before. And so instead of having continuity and continuing to do the same thing every year, they jump around. So our son's 7th grade teacher taught preschool last year. It's kind of a different way of doing things, and I don't know if that's unique to our school or to our province or if that's nationwide. So if you're watching and you know, please let us know in the comments.
Number 10, parents and students clean the classrooms, paint the walls, do all of the kind of maintenance projects.
Repair the electrical.
Well, maybe not electrical, but
build
things.
Structures.
Very true. Yeah, it's very true. Again, I think hearkening back to there isn't very much money in the school system, especially a rural, tiny school like ours. And so it is expected and required of every student to clean the classroom at least once a week, or not once a week. They go through a rotation.
Yeah.
And so they clean the classrooms, and then parents, we have work party days where the parents literally come in and clean up the grounds, fix things, paint things. And it's expected. You're actually publicly shamed if you don't participate.
And that's not just the school culture. That's sort of a community culture in general here,
yeah.
but definitely reflected in the school. And so you will actually have kids bring their machetes to school. That's not weird.
Yes.
That would be strange in the United States for sure.
Yes, it is.
But here,
Minga days, work days are always really funny because you watch all the students walk down the road with shovels and machetes and, all kinds of tools.
Oh, and for the little kids who are too young to clean their classroom at the end of the day, the moms do it. And so we get a rotation at the beginning of the month and your day of the month, or if it's a small class, multiple days of the month. You show up after school, you do the sweeping and the mopping and empty the trash, all of that. There's no janitorial staff.
Which means we are busy, very busy.
Because we have 4 classrooms.
4 classrooms to deal with, so. But it's good. Like I said, it's another one of those things where they teach the kids certain amount of responsibility.
And it keeps the parents involved.
Very involved.
Number 11. This one is kind of funny to me because Ecuador in the mountain region tends to be really formal with a lot of ceremony, a lot of procedure, a lot of really specific ways of doing things. However, with names, they're very informal. And the students at the school call teachers by their first names. They do use the word licenciado, or abbreviated to Licen, before the name. So Blake would be Licenciado Blake, or Licen Blake. And licenciado means sort of like titled one, or like one who has the title of teacher, for instance.
All right, when the teacher is absent or not at school, there isn't really substitute teaching. And so the little kids won't actually even go to school that day. So if their teacher's sick, the kids stay home too.
We'll get a message late at night, the night before, or early the morning of, and the teacher will say, I've got an appointment today, or I'm sick today, so keep your kids home. I think that stops in about 4th or 5th grade, maybe even 2nd or 3rd grade. But no, it doesn't bother anyone here. They all have these big extended families that jump in and help out. It's not an issue.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different because even let's say the older kids, when the teacher isn't there.
Oh, that's our next one.
Oh, that's the next one. So
Number 13, and along those same lines, it's not uncommon for a teacher to be out of the classroom for a period of time, even with the little grades, and the students watch themselves. They elect sort of a class president, and the president is in charge, even if the president is 7 years old. And an hour can go by, and it can be a little chaotic from what we understand, but that is totally normal here.
Yeah, and even they don't seem to have an issue with that leaving the students to their own devices kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is at times a bit concerning.
But they expect certain behavior, and they're willing to put the responsibility on the kids. And obviously there are adults around if there's an emergency. So again, it doesn't bother us, but it's hard to imagine that being the case in the United States.
Would not be the case in the United States. And maybe it's different at a bigger school, like in the city.
Yeah, they may have somebody
That's true.
to jump in, but
being in the country is pretty relaxed in a lot of ways. So, all right.
let us know what you thought about these differences and what your experience is. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe some of these things are common where you live and are not unique to rural southern Ecuador.
Like I said, our kids were homeschooled in the United States, and so this is our first public school experience.
Maybe this is normal.
I mean, I don't think so. I don't think it's normal, but it's normal for here. But yeah, let us know in the comments what unique things your kids go through too. But yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Subscribe to Average Family Abroad.
Like this video, and we'll see you on the next one.